Greg O'Connor.
Mr Speaker, the only reference I'll make to that last speech was that before I came to this House, I was the President of the Police Association, and because we had the rights to associate, the police did, because we had the right to advocate, the police were actually able to achieve much more by way of resource, by way of ability to police New Zealand than they would have otherwise. And that leads me on to the subject of my presentation, which is about veterans, because we have a group of people in New Zealand who, as a result of having neither of those things, no right to associate, no right to actually have any advocacy, have ended up in a situation where we have veterans around New Zealand who are not on any register, who actually need considerable assistance. But before I do that, I am speaking on veterans as the spokesperson of Veteran Affairs. In the shadow of what's happening, of course, is ANZAC Day in 2 weeks' time. And before I do that, I'd like each member of the House just to have a look around and look at some of the names on the walls here. And these are the names of all the battle sites where New Zealanders have fought. And behind each of these inscriptions, of course, are the many, mostly men, but also women, who have given their lives over the years. And not only those people, but also their families who remain behind. So as we work up towards ANZAC Day, many of us are wearing poppies here in the House. It gives us great time to reflect on that sacrifice. And which brings me to the subject of my presentation. And this is not going to be political, because it's a time when each party has recognised this, and through different papers, through different acknowledgements, through different research projects, both here and overseas. And I think an important point I'd like to start with is, what is a veteran? Now, one enters the military services by being attested, essentially, by other words, being sworn in. And in doing so, members give up rather a lot. It means that they are subject to military law, the absolute requirement to do as they're ordered, and at the same time relinquish some of their rights under the Bill of Rights Act, freedom of movement, of association, of expression, of assembly, and the right to withhold labour. Now, there's people will look at other professions have some of those things, but what other professions don't have is the ability for their leaders, their bosses, to order them, to take them into situations of absolute danger where they don't have any right to refuse, and people do lose their lives as a result. Now, there are two classes of veterans, Mr Speaker. There are veterans, those who were in the services before 1974, actually when ACC brought in, and they have considerable rights. Their rights are more along the lines of what most overseas forces have. Canada, any former member of the Canadian Armed Forces who successfully underwent basic training and is honourably released. Australia, since 1977, a veteran is defined as anyone who has served at least one day in the Australian Defence Force. United Kingdom, a veteran is anyone who has served in the UK Armed Forces. Veterans need not to have served overseas or in conflict. So these are people who are considered veterans, and as a result are able to access veteran services. However, in New Zealand, it's much more defined. Since the 2014 Act, a veteran has to have had qualifying overseas experience or operational experience, or have been in danger. Now, what this means is that there are a large number of our forces, that is approximately 40,000 people, but the extra 100,000 to take it to 140,000 people are not entitled to any of those things, and when they leave the service, they're only entitled to what everyone else is entitled to. The time has come, there have been agreement, it is going to be considerably expensive to do it, but it is time now for all of this House as we sit around here, as we approach ANZAC Day, as we acknowledge that service, the service that is currently being given around the globe, to acknowledge that service and redefine veteran. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.